Okay. I need a brush. Get something to mix paint with. Okay, so we're going to start off with a good base. Let's see. I usually start with a cork brown. I got a couple that I'm going to do today. I got this guy here. It's going to be a little washed out with all the light. And I got this guy here. I should have put some dye into the resin, but it'll be okay. So there's a formula that somebody put together for all kinds of different head sculpts and how to get your ethnicities down. I sort of wing it. I try to match the sculpture, or the tone, to the body that I'll be using. And some of the bodies are a little darker. These are Vallejo paints, acrylic paints, and it's always tough to get your tones just right. Painting is my my weak spot. I can do a half decent job at it, but it's definitely not my best stuff. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start off with is a little of this off-white, and I'm going to work on the eye, the whites of the eye, for which I will use my finest brush. This little guy here. And this is an off-white. You don't want to paint the eyes a pure white, because it just doesn't look good. Nobody's eyes are pure white. You get this done first, because it doesn't matter if you get a little of the paint on the skin. This is going to be covered with a flesh tone anyway. One down. Put his head back on the pike. Sorry. Emperor Palpatine took over for a second. Good morning, Floral. You can see on this one where I had to patch up with there's a little air bubble inside this casting. So I had to patch him up a little bit. So I have him going around with his nostril chopped off or chopped out. These two here are my own personal work I've done. This one I did about a year ago. And this one I just finished the other day. And this Joaquin Phoenix head sculpt I bought off of eBay, he's going to be my Baron Mordo because I like comic book accurate characters. If they ever make or maybe I'll have to do it, a Chiwetel Ejiofor sculpture. Because I know as soon as I make one, there'll be an official release. Because it's just my luck. I would like to use him as the Marvel sorcerer, Brother Voodoo. That was a cool thing about Marvel. They always had they had magic users from all different backgrounds. You had Dr. Druid. You had the Sorcerer Supreme, coming from the Ancient Ones background, who was sort of Tibetan. Baron Mordo, who was Transylvanian. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Yes, it does. You know why it matters? Because that's the way the character was made. Then you had the guys with Brother Voodoo, who was Jamaican, or Haitian, rather. Yeah, I got 3 head sculpts to do. I'm going to need a lot more paint than that. Okay. Let me find my cork brown again. I like using the cork brown as a good base. Again, something you have to keep in mind. You can do one of, well, there's several ways you can do it, but you go and you do a real life accurate tone, then you put it on an action figure and the body color won't match. The head sculpt looks great, but there's a two-tone effect, and that kind of bugs me a little bit. So I try to match the tone to the body I'm going to use. Now this is some cork brown, some white, and some flat flesh. I don't know how to make this thing not have the mirror image on the camera. I'll have to look that up one of these days. Let's see here. I need something in there. I think it needs a little bit of blue. Yes, oddly enough, blue really makes the flesh tone just a tiny bit, though. Really makes the flesh tone look a little fleshier. I don't know why. It's been a long time since I had color theory class. And one of the hard parts for me with this is that when you paint it, and then when you when it dries, the tone looks very different. And then you start choking on coffee and cuts the stream short really quick. Okay, let's start with this fella here. And it's a base coat, so I like to go a little bit darker. That way you can put some highlights on top. And again, I'm not too concerned about hitting the hairline because, well, I'm going to paint the hair. I do like to hit inside here where the neck peg will go, just because it's good form. You don't want to tilt the head and have this like big shiny. Usually I put some pigment into the resin, but I forgot. I was like, okay, I can paint it. I can do that. Oh, crappity crap! Look, there's a little spot of resin there that had an air bubble. Time for a little quick surgery. Here we go. Okay. Now I can hold him. Oh, he didn't ball his pike. Stuck his head in a pike. Oh, he's Ned Stark. Not really. There are some very good sculptures out there of Sean Bean. Which is appropriate because he's been in so many things. So I like to start with a darker tone. This way you can highlight it as you go. Try to get as streak free as possible. Here's the hard parts. My hand is relatively steady. I've only had one cup of coffee this morning. Because I'm not a surgeon. Like a surgeon. Ooh. After this, I will be thinning out the paint. I'm doing a few more coats of different tones with some red and a little lighter for some highlights. A friend of mine who is a professional painter, and he does head sculptures, and he is truly magnificent. Sideshow and NECA hire him to paint their prototypes before they send them to appear at conventions. of these days I will have him repaint one of my action figures. But just to say I have one. They look frighteningly realistic. His name is Nathan Eakins. He's goes by Silent Surfer, and he does amazing work. Okay, let's get this fella going here. He's been very kind to give me some pointers and tips over the years, which I haven't been able to implement nearly as well as he does. He'll paint 1/6 scale eyes, and the irises actually have little lines inside them, like kind of striating out from the center. I just sit there and look at the images that he's done, and I just am in complete awe. Okay, now this guy's got stubble. But what I found is that when you're doing stubble, you should do a flesh tone over it. Otherwise, this looks like a beard under it. Yeah, I guess the bottom layer should be the flesh tone. Otherwise, your stubble just looks like a beard and not stubble. This guy here has, hey, look, I found another air bubble. Crappity crap. I'll need my other knife. That's not a knife. That's a knife. I'm using the heavier blade on this one. I'm going to get in there and cut that little bubble out. It's the crappy part when you have all the very, very bright white. It washes out a lot of your details you're looking for. You can't see until it's painted. Then you paint it and you're like, crap. I missed that. I didn't want that to look that way, but it did. Fortunately, when you're working with acrylic, it's easy to remove because you don't want to do too many layers of paint. Every layer of paint you do, it hides some detail. Like this one here is like, this is like, didn't add any of the skin texture to. I wasn't quite at that point when I sculpted this one. That looks kind of funny. It's like Two-Face. So this way, what I'll do is a dry brush over the stubble, a little gray. I imagine I have to get some stuff coming in for a commission. It's got to go out. has to arrive to Arizona by June 30th. I'm gonna order some shoes and some. I'll move this a little closer like this. There we go. It's gonna be in Colorado by June 30th, so I gotta start. Make sure I can get a pair of shoes for it. Some shiny black dress shoes. Yeah, this is all the random stuff that just pops in my head as I do this stuff. Total non sequiturs and life with ADD. Again, getting inside where the neck peg goes. Not where the peg itself goes, but again, just if the head gets tilted to the side, you don't have this like band of bright white glaring at you. Mordo being Transylvanian, I think he should be a little paler. So put a little more white in here. I should have checked the diameter of this hole for the neck peg. I'm going to make it a little small. I also think what I'm going to do, because this has a wider neck, I'm going to go with a wider brush. A couple more areas. Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, I thought would be a really good casting. Can you imagine having Benedict Cumberbatch and Joaquin Phoenix playing against each other as protagonist and antagonist? Everybody complaining, oh, well, it's two separate things. It's like, yeah, you know what? There's a really good story in there without without having to resort to changing the characters. Do this real quick. I'm definitely going to need a finer tip brush to get in the little spaces in here. I'm not sure who did this. Originally did this sculpture of Mordo, or I'm sorry, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker. But it is really spectacular. I'm not sure if it was it's probably done in ZBrush. That's what most people use these days. ZBrush is a computer program that does 3D sculpted art. And there's some magnificent printers out there that produce them. Technically, it's a little unethical to be purchasing these third-party heads. They're not reselling them, and it's sort of like a work of what do they say in YouTube? Transformative work. Baron Mordo was actually a very sinister character. Brought up in black magic to be a basically a very evil pawn, which he relished in. Made alliances with Dormammu, the Dark Dimension. Okay. Okay, let's see here. All right, I'm going to need another coat of flesh tone, but I think I'm going to add a little bit of red to it. And I've got this brown rose. Forgot, I should probably shake this guy up. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. There we go. Don't want too much. Okay, that add a little bit more red to it. We'll see how we get with this. Get a little bit of water in here. Thin my paint down a bit. Oop. I muted myself. Got my little mute button there. Okay. And this one, I textured the surface a little bit to give it the illusion of some skin texture. I want to go kind of thin so I don't lose that. Okay. I missed a spot or two there. Take this guy and get around the eyes. So I missed a little bit around there. There we go. A little bit better. Okay. Take this guy here. Just head down there. Tail. So use the other one up. Oh, yeah. Forgot all about my coffee. Sorry with the sounds of my very overt salt. Let's see here. Something is kind of off of the tone. It looks a little orange. There's a little spot right there I gotta fill in. Okay, be right back. I gotta grab a tube of epoxy filler. I found it. A little tube of green putty. Squadron Products green putty. Unfortunately, it's going to have to take a lot of paint to cover this up when I'm done, but can't have this guy walking around out there with a nick in his nose. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. This stuff dries really, really quick, so I can hit all the other areas first. Before I get to that. One of these days, I'm going to get my daughter to paint these head sculpts for me because she's really, really good with color. There we go. You know what? So a spot in there I really got to kind of blot my bristles into. Right there in the little mustache area. Okay, let's take Baron Moldo again. I'll work on him a little bit. Mordo. Very European sounding, kind of like a substitute for death. Morbid, morose. Really like for Marvel to create all of their supernatural line. Back when the comics were so good. Jared Leto did a decent job as Michael Morbius. Not the most complex character out there. Another take on the whole Frankenstein trope. Oh no, I tried to fix myself and made myself into a monster. You can't make a vampire into a good guy. Hold my beer. Wait a little brush. Here we go. Okay. Get some of this detail by the eyelid. Without hitting the eyeball. This is where these magnifying goggles come in so handy. Because my old eyes do not see that kind of detail. You don't realize how much good eyesight plays a part in all this. They said that Joe DiMaggio, his eyesight was so good that he used to be able to count the threads on a baseball as it was coming towards him at 90 miles an hour or whatever. Okay, so now I'm going to need a little bit of shading. So I'm going to take my base tone, add a little bit of burnt umber. I'm probably going to need a finer brush, not a super fine brush, but somewhere in the middle. Maybe this guy. Maybe this guy. Okay. This is going to be for darker highlights, so I don't need a whole lot. Oh. Shake, shake, shake. And again, not applying it directly to the paint because a little goes a long way and it will completely darken up this way too much. This may even be too much. Much more. There we go. Okay, now let's see who's the most dry. Okay, so I'm going to take the darker tone here. I'm going to put underneath the eyelid. So it's really hard to tell that the tone change until this dries. Then it will probably be very apparent. Probably. Sometimes I've done this and it just doesn't look like there's any difference whatsoever. Okay, get just a little bit of very slight tone under the bags in his eye. All right, I'm gonna have this fella here. And definitely gonna okay. His head is awfully glistening here, but when it's done, he's going to get zapped with a coat of Tester's Dull Coat, which will give him a nice matte finish. Who's Matt? Sorry. Little dad joke there. Okay. Little line underneath the eye. Little dot in the nostrils. There's a darker tone. Little bit inside the ear detail. A little bit of shadow. That. We get our last victim. Whoops. Okay. Now, fortunately for me, the hair tone of all these guys is pretty much black, as far as I can tell. Which is good. That means I don't have to go swapping back and forth too much. Okay, I've got to do one more tone change. It's going to be even more red, like a little bit of a blush effect, if you will. See if I can get my cord out of here. Testing. Okay.